But we have other sports as well. Lots of sports that people really only see every 2 or 4 years, depending on Winter or Summer Olympics. I know for me, I love watching little sports that I might not see on television very often, like table tennis or what have you, that are just really fun to watch. And that's what the Olympics for me is really all about. We kind of mentioned it earlier in the show about how exciting it is to watch some of those sports you don't get to see very often. And why not a better idea than to just pick a couple of these sports, highlight them, talk about what we're excited to see. And this required no research at all, I'm going to say, because me and Quiggs are just experts on the Olympics, and we know everything about all 100 or however many sports there are. But Quiggs, I'm going to go to you. So give me one of your two or one sport that you are excited to watch that maybe flies under the radar, not a lot of people talk about.
I'm going to go with men's water polo. And I think this is a very interesting sport to watch because it shares a lot of similarities with, it's just any normal sport like soccer or hockey where you're just trying to score on the other team's goal, but with the added challenge of having to swim and basically just tread water for almost 40 minutes. I guess it's 4 quarters of 8 minutes each. All of the players are phenomenal athletes.
Yeah.
Absolutely ripped upper bodies. But it's a very physically challenging sport. And for those who don't necessarily know how water polo works, you have 6 field players, field pool, whatever you want to call it. 6 players in the field and 1 goalie for each team. The goal is about 3 meters wide and 90 centimeters tall. Field players are required to catch, pass, and shoot with just one hand, which is an added difficulty.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And goalies are the only people on the playing field that are allowed to use 2 hands. But the pool is 25 yards long, 20 yards wide, 7 feet deep, so you can't touch the ground. If you touch the ground, that is a penalty. So you're not allowed to do that. And like I said, game lasts for 4 quarters. They're each 8 minutes long, and there's a 30-second shot clock. The scoring is probably most akin to like maybe a lacrosse game with the frequency of goals. So definitely more so than hockey, a lot more than soccer where sometimes you don't even get a goal in 90 minutes. So it's a lot faster action. It's a very fun sport to watch. And this year, Hungary really is seeming to be the betting favorites going to this tournament. They went on a run between 2000 and 2008 where they won 3 straight gold medals. And they have, I think they're ranked 4th in the world right now, behind or along with the top teams in Serbia, Italy, and Croatia, with the U.S. as an underdog in this tournament, 8th best odds to win the gold. But a fun fact about this water polo tournament in the Olympics is that of the since 2000, every single gold medalist in men's water polo has been born within a radius inside Europe. It makes up most of the Balkan countries, a little bit of Hungary, a little bit of Slovakia. But since 2000, so basically our entire lifetimes, every single gold medal winner was born in this one area of Europe. So obviously Montenegro, Serbia, these are all very, very strong water polo teams, Croatia as well. And the U.S. is definitely going to have to make kind of a Cinderella run if they want to get anywhere in this tournament. So look for the Balkan countries to continue their success and fight down to the last minute.
Maybe this could be a little kind of like the men's curling, where you saw the U.S. kind of make a little bit of a Cinderella run. Maybe that happens in water polo as well. I think it's interesting. You mentioned the athletes in this sport. It's 8 minutes, you said, per quarter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 8-minute quarters, and imagine just treading water for 8 minutes just staying there. Even that is tiring. Even that swimming up and down, even that for 8 minutes is tiring. So the fact that they're doing that while also not touching the ground, catching the ball with one hand and trying to get it in the goal is really impressive. I think that's certainly a lot of big time athletes in that sport. So that's exciting. My sport here, I've got 2 of them, but I'll give you one, is canoe slalom, which I am going to be honest, I didn't know that existed as an Olympic sport until yesterday. But I saw it, and I was immediately fascinated because we know I've watched skis like giant slalom and stuff like that. Like that's a pretty well known event for the Winter Olympics. It's obviously slaloms. You got two posts basically, and you have to go between them essentially, or through one through the other, and you can't touch them. That's the key. But when you're in a canoe, it's a little bit more complicated. You're in whitewater rapids, so they kind of build that course. And you're going between the slaloms as fast as you can, and you get penalties if you do touch one. That's just like a time penalty, and that is really really just sounds like an incredible sport to me. Sounds like a really kind of another sport which takes incredible athletes as well. But the event is canoes and kayaks, so there's actually both, which is interesting as well. It starts July 25th and goes all the way to the 30th. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities to watch canoe and kayak slalom. The favorites, at least for the men, is I'm going to pronounce this name terribly wrong, but Jiří Prskavec from the Czech Republic. He's the world champion. So, but there's another guy from Spain, David Llorente. He's second. He was second at the World Championship, so maybe he'll challenge him. And then for the women, Australia's Jessica Fox. Australia sounds like a good place to do this. I guess train for it. I don't know. She won silver and bronze at the last two events, so I think it's time to win gold. So it's a long event. It's 5 days, so you're going to be able to watch plenty of it, and it's really just sounds like a very fascinating sport. And I'll give you one other sport as well. And for me, it's badminton, which is another sport I'm really really excited to watch. A little bit more well known. And I think it's what appeals to me most is the fact that a lot of people have played badminton before just for fun. But to play it with so much strategy and at a high level is just so far away from our understanding that it makes for really exciting. It makes for really interesting a sport to watch. I like the doubles because it's more of a team sport, which I think is very interesting. And China has been dominant in the sport, I guess, historically for badminton. They've have 18 gold medals as a nation. But Japan, the host nation, has been really good lately. So that could be an interesting rivalry potentially down the road. So badminton is another sport I'm really excited for. Quiggs, do you have another sport here besides water polo that you're interested in as well?
I would say the two sports that I am very interested in seeing because they are brand new to the tournament are surfing and skateboarding. They're two sports that we've never seen in the Olympics before. I really have no idea what to expect, but I'm very, very interested in seeing two sports that not necessarily, I guess the people that participate in them, not necessarily looked at as the traditional athlete. So it's definitely interesting to see them finally get their flowers and get to compete at the highest level on the biggest stage. I saw Tony Hawk was obviously not competing at his age of mid-50s, but he was in Tokyo trying out the skate park that they will be using for their event. So that was some pretty good company to keep up there in Tokyo. I'm very excited to see what that has in store. And pretty much I will be watching a lot of different sports that I've probably never necessarily seen before. So I'm very excited about that. I definitely love watching the Olympics. Even if there's no fans, it's going to be a very entertaining time.
Yeah, you need about like 15 televisions to keep up with all the sports going on in one day, which is why the Olympics is awesome. You can switch between 5 different sports, but maybe check out some of the sports we mentioned. Surfing and skateboarding, those seem like to me like they would have already been Olympic sports. So I'm glad that they are because they definitely fit well. Surfing is an incredibly difficult sport that most of us, maybe not most of us, but at least around here, not many of us have ever done before, much less. So you can't even really fathom how difficult it is, but just like the balance, the strength, all of that goes into just incredible athletes across the board in the Olympics.